basically.
Again, that's something which the chancellor will deal with. I mean, I think so. If everybody can just understand, this is a strategic announcement here. So I don't actually have little bits of details of numbers at my fingertips. But I would suggest that, and you're all good journalists, I'm sure you can do a little bit of research and find out how much these things would cost. Do a little bit of calculation, and you'll find out how much.
That's how much you're going to be giving.
Well, you can speculate.
I think
as you will.
We have a question here in the middle.
My name is Jeremy Michaels. Minister, I'm a freelancer. Are you seriously telling the public that you're making this major public announcement, but you can't give us any details in terms of the figures? What is it going to cost?
It's a strategic announcement. In terms of the cost, let me put it this way. In terms of the cost, the Chancellor is totally behind this announcement because it's something which affects the whole country.
But you're the minister responsible. I mean, you should be.
I know, but the thing is, what you have to appreciate, it does transcend government departmental boundaries. And anything to do with money is the Chancellor's department. All I can say is that the Chancellor is fully behind this, the Prime Minister is fully behind it, the Cabinet is fully behind it, the Labour Party is fully behind it, and whatever the costs are involved, that will come into the calculations of the green tax. The green tax basically will fund any additional expenditure which will be incurred by industry or by individuals as a result of the strategic announcement.
And when will the
excuse me, I think we've got to move on. We've got to. I have a question here.
Yeah. How are you going to secure reliability? You can't control the weather.
No, it's a good question. In terms of reliability, basically we have a number of approaches. If you think, one of the criticisms of renewables is that, okay, a windy country like the UK, or Denmark for that matter, sometimes the wind doesn't blow. Well, typically when the wind isn't blowing, we still have the tides coming in and out, we still have the waves going up and down, we still have the sun shining during the day. So in terms of the strategy, the technologies are complementary. Okay?
But you have to have loads of windmills everywhere.
Yes.
Not
necessarily windmills everywhere. Like I said, there's going to be a number of technologies which will be used at the same time. And don't forget, even though the long-term goal is to produce 4/5 of our electricity by renewable forms, there will still be other forms of electricity generated as well to make up for short-term increases in demand.
What kind of
excuse me, there's a question here.
Yes, the areas of ideal geographical location for windmills are designated usually wildlife areas or national parks. How are you going to protect these?
Well, one of the things that we're going to do in terms of windmills is take the lead from the Danes, who are apparently, so I'm told, one of the leaders in wind technology in the world. And what the Danes have done, rather cleverly, but rather simply, is put windmills out at sea. So they will actually be offshore windmills.
There's a question here.
Renewable energy like tidal will damage the wild animals' life condition. Is there any method to prepare for that?
Well, I dispute whether that's true or not. The thing is, what we.
It's because from the Friends of Earth.
Yeah, Friends of the Earth have their view, which I find quite strange because this is possibly the greenest policy this government or any government has ever announced, and yet we still get criticised by Friends of the Earth. We have criticisms from the RSPB, the Royal Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Birds, or whatever it is, about wind turbines being damaging to birds. But what I put to everybody is that we have an impossible choice here, ladies and gentlemen. We either go renewable, and we live with the consequence of it, and I think if we're going to hurt a few fish, maybe, then that's fine. We're going to have either nuclear, which means waste products for hundreds, if not thousands of years, or we're going to stick to what we're doing, which we can't sustain. So whatever decision we make about energy, there are going to be some difficult questions, and it's for you to decide, as responsible journalists and citizens, whether we're doing the right thing or not. I look forward to reading your material.
I think we can possibly squeeze in just one more. There's a gentleman right back.
Mr. Minister, I want to find out, did you take this decision because of the public opinion, or do you think it is the right thing to do?
Well, there are a number of reasons. I'd like to think that public opinion is one of the things that we took into consideration, but more than anything else, it's the scientific and the business case for this decision, which I think forces it through more than anything else.
Right, thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much.
We're relying on private sources.
I think the Minister has now finished. We've exhausted our time. But, thank you all for coming.
And we'd like to think that we've
Minister,
learned.
if you recall, there is another meeting.
We'd like to learn by the mistakes of our predecessors, and this technology is much more advanced than nuclear industry technology was in the 1950s.
How much are relying on private sources?
Private sources for?
Private sectors.
Oh, for the private sector enormously, because the private sector, as we know, is incredibly dynamic. It's driven by profit, which means that products get better and better and better. And the suppliers of the wind turbines and the wave turbines and solar panels, they'll all be private sector companies. But of course, as I said to your colleague, we will be supporting them.
On what basis are these companies chosen?
On the basis of the quality of their products, and if they can
Not any special relationships with politicians or anything like
Not
that?
that I know of. I think that's a terrible accusation to make.
Your estimates a couple of months ago was that you can only provide push renewables up to 15%
We
by
do
2020.
have to give the Minister a chance
Now
to
you
get to
said
his
40.
next meeting.
Sorry,
what did it tell you?
This
about
is the final
estimates?
question, I'm afraid. Say that again, sorry.
Yeah. A couple of months ago, your department said
Yeah.
you could only push
Yeah.
renewables energy up to 15%
Yeah.
by 2020.
Yeah.
Now it's 40. Well, what does it tell you about your estimates?
But what the initial estimates, I think they're a little bit conservative. That's what it tells me. I think that with the full support of the country, there's full support of private industry, particularly the manufacturers of these new products, and with some government funds and lots of government encouragement, I think we really can push it up to 40% by 2020, and I think we can push it up to 80% by 2050 as well. This really is a revolution, and I think everybody needs to get behind it.
With this
Thank you very much.
I do need to take names from anybody who does have follow-up questions for the Minister.